Wait a minute, what do you define as the lobby of the council?
But the food is.
One's a big,
Okay.
you know, big.
I was going to say, because
Street level.
there are many potential definitions.
Yes.
You can see the Empire Room from it.
Right.
You can buy a $16 martini if you chose.
I don't think I would choose to
Some
There's always one place to find neighbors, plus hang out till 4 o'clock. Anybody have any ideas? Well, a place where I'm not going
I didn't. Yeah.
And that's kind of informed following Twitter.
Anything else going on? I think and they are, some of them are the ones that I sent to them, actually. So I think
Play what? Heads down, thumbs up.
yeah.
You never played that? Really?
I don't think so. Heads down, seven.
Heads down, thumbs up.
You rid of heads. You have 7 people who are starting, and everybody's supposed to put their heads down and thumbs up. And 7 people pretty close to the eyes. Everybody can see them. The 7 people who are get up and pick 7 people to.
They put their thumbs down.
And then they go down, and people go down, pick who was the first one. If they correctly guess, and they think, stay down, and not, that person has to swap. It was there. You just repeat it until there's really no end to it.
No, I never played that.
Run like your high school history class.
I prefer Mafia or who's the werewolf or anything like that. Mafia, you think,
Wait,
that was a large group of people.
that would have been culturally insensitive.
That's why it's who's the werewolf.
Because everyone would have been.
Or who's the werewolf, who is the vampire, or whatever. You have, those work a little bit differently. So, Mafia, you have 3 number of people who are mafia on the side of the group. One part player is the investigator, and one player is the doctor. Everybody else is sort of jumping in.
All right, have your final for you.
There's often wriggles of their eyes and open down some people. Each one pick a person. I shouldn't say that everybody, not four, but everybody picks all four of us. If it is the paper, they can turn them. And the person in terms of the investigator.
It is, the password is Callie. And, oh no, the password is, the username is Callie, the password is CallieCon13.
Thanks.
Honestly, I think we shouldn't be playing Cali Jeopardy. We should be playing When David Walker's Money.
The next one.
It's not renewing.
No.
Yes, I'll take
That's what
one
they gave me,
set.
and the username is Callie.
Right, which it, remember.
There's 500 Turkish lira.
Recording it, right?
Elmer's the only one that's
Yeah, well, that's what I thought it was, but it wasn't working.
Somebody didn't want to be targeted. You think somebody.
Hey, Gary, did they change the password to the, for the people that are
Those
using
will
the
laugh
track?
and use them to go
Maybe I need to have a camera.
one of those three principles.
Your player.
The investigator gets to ask questions, and then gets to choose your lesson.
Right, Jared?
All of the assassins, all the mafia, all the whatever before. We would just make who's the world facing one person starts the floor. You need to get on by the
Well, that's, I got,
It's Callie is the username.
right.
CallieCon13 is the ID.
It's not working.
CallieCon13 is the it better be working for me. I've signed up.
I think that's
All one word, right?
I think the vampires reproducing the werewolves.
We got 10 minutes, let me run down and find out.
I think it's mafia stuff. You're supposed to push out. They both jokers and they both jokers. One of the jokers are the medic and the investigator. And then you like leave like number of students, this number of players you have or something. And then the second people. It's been a very long time. We used to do it as a
Maybe not directly.
Oh, I had it on it, Tom.
Never mind.
I'm surprised. Survival.
Also, everybody discusses and votes the investigation the last time. Look at their cards.
Trying so hard to look.
Good. Great.
There are very, 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 very few people on earth that actually look better with the hat.
I'm just wondering now. Here now, we're having to test that. And move over. You don't have to move over. Seriously, don't move. Straight now, I don't So if we would walk, we just walk back to south, we just go right across, and then just walk back. I think it was right and or we can just go and go. No, I forgot about that. I have told my students to class day where they can this class, whatever they want. I told them they can play games, all basketball, one, and everything. Class day. You can just like whatever you want. Great, I love them. Like, free resources.
Yeah.
Pretty good. How are you doing today?
Doing well.
Any way they want.
Ready to get
You got no room to go over the lunch.
It requires at least
Hands up. How are you doing?
Muito bem.
Muito bem.
Muito bem.
Aproveitando bastante.
Tô cansado, mas é bom.
Very good. Gostei da apresentação, não?
Tá?
Tá ótimo. Parabéns.
Obrigado. Tenho um amigo em Brasília agora.
Brasília?
Está indo para a escola para ser diplomata. Ele estudou no Canadá por 2 anos, se formou com engenharia química, depois decidiu para voltar e estudou no diplomata. Universidade Federal. E ele disse se seu filho gostaria, ele poderia vir para cá e encerrar empresa aqui e tocar comigo por 6 meses e mais. Mas meu filho, ele pensa que ele não vai poder aprender português. Meu filho, Copa do Mundo, você vai. Difícil. 3, 4 meses dá para conversar. Also, per Rivero,
Someone told conversar, não se importa. Você tem que ter um momento.
We give it a final exam, one first year, answer questions, what taser? What, tell me what taser is, I got like, get in the car,
Almost. It's a basketball team.
those are all.
So are there any,
Well, but you know, on that, that's more questions.
are there any handcuffs involved with this game? Or
What?
any handcuffs involved with this game? Or?
Yeah.
No, okay.
It's not that kind of conference.
Just checking. I just wanted to get these off on the right foot, you know.
It's really embarrassing.
They go from, you know, easy to a little harder.
Right, still though, you shouldn't be Even more on tape. The fact that we did something wrong.
I don't remember
All right, well, welcome. Thank you for coming to my presentation on playing games in the classroom. I am David Walker. I am the Director of Rewarding Skills and Academic Success Program at Lincoln Memorial University School of Law. And I teach a lot of fun classes. I think they're fun. And I don't think my students necessarily think they're always that fun. So, when I start teaching, a lot of times I get excited about the subject matter. And I'll peer into the classroom, and I see all these eager young minds just waiting to expand their knowledge base, right? And I see them face to face with their laptops open, ready for whatever is going to come next, whatever I'm going to throw at them. And then I realize I don't necessarily know what's on their screen. I don't know. I assume that they're taking notes, or maybe like looking at past notes and looking at case briefs and whatnot. But that isn't always the case. If you notice, if you ever teach a first-year course in law school, the first 2 weeks, I tend to find you'll have students and they're typing readily away, taking like massive notes, and like very engaged, just looking up, saying, is that important? And then about 3 weeks into the semester, they start losing them a little. And then by midway through the semester, it's going to be on the exam. And then you get to the end, and it's like, well, if you get half the class, you're lucky, right? So there's well, I'm watching. I don't necessarily see what's going on. But a few years ago, our former dean peered into a classroom, peered through the windows in the door in the back of the room, civil procedure class, and he observed the class from outside for a little while, and he saw the civil procedure professor with a PowerPoint slides up, engaged in Socratic dialogue with her students. He saw some rest of the class listening in, and then he turned and he saw what befuddled him. It was a student playing online poker. And he just couldn't get over the fact that there was a student playing online poker. Now, there's other students who might not play online poker. They might play Farmville. I don't really know how to play it. Isn't there Ninjas versus Pirates? I like Tetris, so, and Reversing. Some students actually shop in class because I went to the printer one day and saw a receipt for an Xbox, and I knew that student was in class. And then we have at Duncan School of, since we opened until just very recently, we've used Windows Messenger for reference. Now, evening classes start at 6:15. I would have reference shifts at, say, between 5 and 9, 5 and 10. And at 6 o'clock, there would be a few students logged on to Windows Messenger. And then at 6:15, about 70 students simultaneously would log on to Windows Messenger, and basically they get in class, and it's like, this is the time I'm gonna, start messaging, and the thing is, technology is great in the classroom. It's fantastic. There's a lot we can do with it, but it also tends to lead towards distraction. Based on what the dean saw and other faculty members were seeing in the class, we had this conversations about these faculty discussions about should we keep students from using their laptops in the classroom. And some faculty members did that. They said, can't use their laptops. I thought that was a little harsh. My position is basically, I'm there to instruct, and I want to engage them as much as possible. But technology is not the reason that students get distracted. It helps them become more distracted, but I was pulling out a box the other day, a couple months ago, and it was all my notebooks from law school, and I was looking at statutory interpretation. And I love statutory interpretation with Bob Williams. Fantastic class. And I'm looking at my notes, and then I saw, I drew a picture of my watch. And so there's always been distraction. It's not technology. There's, people doodle, people play tic-tac-toe. This was always going on. So technology, while it's a great tool, it helps lead to distraction, but it doesn't necessarily do that. So how do you overcome this? Especially in a environment where, let's say with Socratic dialogue, you're really dialoguing with one student, or and going from having a conversation with a student and moving on to a conversation with another student. A lot of times, law students, when they're not being engaged, that's when they tune out. Like, oh, I heard my name, so now I'm going to perk up. I generally teach skills class. My favorite subject of all time is teach legal research. I love teaching legal research is the best class to teach. Can I get an amen? All right, so not everybody thinks legal research is all that exciting. To teach, I do. I also teach at least one legal writing course a year, usually at least two, but, and that, it's exciting, they're exciting times, but even I get bored. Like sometimes I just want to fall asleep at the podium when I'm talking about punctuation and grammar, right? We had one day that we had members of our ABA site evaluation team come in, and I was talking to our PR professor, and I said, so what are you teaching tonight? She said, sexual relations with clients. And then she asked me, well, what are you teaching? I said, sentence structure and paragraph design. And I will tell you this, it was the best class on sentence structure and paragraph design ever. But at the same time, it was about sentence structure and paragraph design. And you know, I cover about as much as I can with legal writing. We do a lot of things on citation, punctuation, and grammar. You know what a lecture on punctuation and grammar is like? It's pretty boring. So what I started doing was, you know, giving them exercise, a little bit more interactive. What I eventually did is I turned those exercises into mini games. All right. So, giving students in-class exercises keeps them at least minimally engaged because they actually have to do something, right? You give them an exercise and you do it. But if you take the exercise and actually turn it into a game, you know, and that was just my picture of students. Turn it into a game, I find that they are even more engaged. So, Merriam-Webster in dictionary in part defines game as a physical or mental competition conducted according to rules with the participants in direct opposition to each other. Now, what is the key word here, which may emphasize why games may help students become engaged or stay engaged in the classroom? Competition. You are right. Competition is why people become sports enthusiasts. Competition is why people watch game shows. Competition is why I Love New York Pizza on Chapman Highway is packed at 7 o'clock on a Monday. They have trivia night. Competition to a great extent attracts people to the practice of law. Competition is exciting. But you know, as law professors, as instructors, we're pretty serious people. We teach about serious things. We teach about life. We teach about liberty. We teach about property. We don't play Monopoly. But if you don't like the thought of actually bringing games into the classroom, if that bothers you, just think about bringing games in as an in-class mental competition, right? They're competing. And to be honest with you, most games that we play, and I'll be talking about them in law school, aren't really that fun, right? They're not the type of game that you would play outside of the classroom, outside of law school classroom, except in the case that I might, because I actually have this app on my phone that's Law School Dojo that's like legal trivia. It's fantastic. I think I'm ranked 3 right now. Anyway, try to be in school. So I thought I'd talk about introducing games in the classroom because I realized at some point I've actually been introducing games in the classroom for a very long time. The first game I ever used in the classroom was really more of an experiment. I was teaching advanced legal research at Charleston School of Law, and I broke all my students into 3 groups. I think I had 9, so there were 3 on a team. All the groups were given a set of various federal statutory questions. Group 1 could only use Lexis to find the answers. Group 2 could only use Westlaw to find the answers. group 3 could had to use the United States Code annotated in print to find the answer. And then the first group who came back with all the correct answers won. Now, can anybody guess which group won? What?
Right.
Anybody else? Any different questions? Any different answers? Who do you think came in second?
Westlaw.
Who do you think came in third? All right. Print won, Westlaw came in second, and I did this again in other classes that I taught a couple of the times, and it was always the same thing. So it's not a fair game. That was not a fair game because, well, print in this case was the best. But it was a game, and the students, I think, were more engaged because they were actually competing with each other. Two of them actually had to run across the building because the USCA was on the other side. But they got to work out. And then I introduced another game in a legal research class. In our first semester, all students have to take Learning Skills 1, which is primarily dedicated to legal research, and then they do citations as well. It was the last class of the semester, and that's the hardest class of the semester to keep a student engaged. At least that's what I found. If they even show up, you're going to have a hard time keeping their attention, unless you say, this is going to be on the exam, this is going to be on the exam. So what we did is, what I did is I divided the game, and we divided in the class into groups of 3 or 4. And everybody was given a question on a PowerPoint slide. It was a legal research question. And they had to go find the answer. And then they had to go to the first page of the volume of where the answer was. So the first question was, which United States Supreme Court case first held that the free speech clause of the First Amendment was incorporated to the states through the 14th Amendment. So they would go and they would find the book, it would be Gitlow, then there would be another question, right? And then they'd have to, that would be a statutory question, and then they'd have to find it. And then when they found that one, guess what? They got another question. And so this kept, and they kept on getting questions. It was a trade-off. And at the end, the first team who brought me the correct volume, right, and opened the page, opened the volume to the first page, won, right? And they got brunch out of it, right? That was the reward. They had a really good time, I think, and they got to work together, and they got to get their hands on paper, and it worked. I mean, it was a very, very fun class, and I think what they got out of it though was a refresher on using all these materials that we've been talking about throughout the semester. I later found games, now these are in skills classes, I later found games to be beneficial when reviewing doctrinal material. I don't necessarily teach any doctrinal courses. I teach skills courses, I teach academic support, and I've taught jurisprudence, which is the opposite of a skills course. In ASP, in ASP 2, that's Academic Success Program 2. It's an academic support course for all first-year students in their second semester whose GPA at the end of their first semester was a 2.3 or lower. What I generally try to do in that class is teach them and have them refine their skills, their studies habits, their exam taking. We talk about time management. We talk about multiple choice questions. Actually, Josh comes in and always does the multiple choice strategy. We talk about really fun stuff that everybody really wants to enjoy. But towards the end of the class, I always like to do a review of torts and civil procedure. So I came up with civil procedure, the game. Now, and I've sort of given you the rules of the civil procedure, the game. How civil procedure, the game worked was I would give them a packet. We played this over 2 classes. First class, I give them a packet of multiple choice questions. And they're like, how in the world is this a game? And I'm like, well, it'll get better. So part 1 was they were to complete the questions that were in the packet, and they had a circle or highlight their answers to clearly indicate to another, to me, or the students in the class, which answer they chose. And then what I actually did after that is I had all the questions in PowerPoint. And we use turning technology. And I would just put the answer. So for topic 42, questions, issue, conclusion, and I poll the class and I get all the results. And then I can actually go back and look at how they're doing. The second part of the game, which was the next class, I then had them, I handed each player a packet from a different student. And I would call on a student to read off the answer of the other player, right? That's the student, the answering student had to decide whether or not they agreed with the player's answer or disagree with the other player's answer. And if they disagreed, they had to provide what they believed to be the correct answer. And then there were different points. And if you agreed with the other player and the other player was correct, each player gets a point for the question. If you agreed with the other player and the other player was wrong, neither player gets a point for the question. If you disagrees with OP and provides the correct answer, he gets 3 points. If you disagrees with OP but provides an incorrect answer and OP's answer was correct, OP gets 2 points. If OP did not answer the question, you answered them correctly, you receive 4 points. If OP did not answer the question and you answered them correctly, no one receives a point. And then we went into a true-false stage where true-false question would appear on the screen. They answered in turning point what they thought the correct answer would be. The moderator would select a player to answer the question. After the player answers, the class results were displayed. If the player answered the question correctly and the majority of the players also answered it correctly, he got 1 point. If he answered it correctly and the majority of the class got it wrong, they got 4 points. Now, in playing these games, some students would actually intentionally give what they thought were incorrect answers, just so they can sort of get more points. So they're actually playing the game to win, right? And that's telling me that they were actually engaged in this. So let's talk a little bit about why use games. What's the pedagogical benefit of using a game? This is not like 7-Up, which we were talking about earlier. Everybody remember 7-Up? Heads down, thumbs up. We played it in like 1st grade. Yeah, fantastic game. What was the educational benefit of 7-Up? I have no idea. Can't figure it out. We're not going to play Monopoly in my classes. I can't figure out a way to make that pedagogically sound. But you can, and you can't teach subject matter through games. Basically, I think games in the classroom are primarily used for review of the materials that you cover, and it could also be used as sort of a pretest. Assume that you're teaching wills, trusts, and estates. A lot of that material is built on property law. So you want to gauge your class and see how well or to what extent they retain the knowledge from property that actually applies to your class of wills, trusts, and estates. And you can sort of use that a game as a way to sort of to gauge that. Instead of giving them like, well, here's some multiple choice questions and answer them, and if you get them right, you'll have a better idea of what students are actually learning. They're going to be more engaged. I assume students in my class have a firm grasp of grammar when they enter into class, but I like to test just how wrong I am, and that happens a lot. So what I did is I used to do these exercises. It was punctuation and grammar exercise, and this is an example of something. So circle the correct word. So they would sit there and they would do these multiple choice, this is actually multiple choice because they have two choices. Questions, and then then we would go over them, and that was kind of boring. I didn't, it's like, oh well, yeah, I got that one right, or I got that one wrong. What I started doing is I even used the rules, basically the rules from civil procedure of the game in the class. So, all right, Mr. Pluta, what did you say the answer to the first one was? And let's say he said, well, either Susan or Carol, and he says is. And I'd say, okay, Mr. Sowers, do you agree or disagree? And then, so we sort of went through, and they would gain points. I would also do this with citation exercises. I would, turn incorrect citations into correct ones. And we would do the same thing with along the lines of civil procedure of the game rules. And it would be students, more engaged in the classroom because they were winning the points. And at the end of that class, there weren't a lot of points. I let them keep their points, which basically out of 1,000 points, whatever the winner, the one who had the most points, got to keep all the points, and I just tack it on because there was no way that they're going to come close to 1,000 anyway. So one way to actually go about creating games is to take past exercises and just make them a little bit more competitive. Another way is to take multiple choice questions that you've used, right? And then just turn it into an in-class mental competition where the students have to provide the correct answer, and then the other person has to actually review and discuss whether or not they think that answer is correct and why or why not. When to play games in the classroom, I would, if you're doing like a pre-test to see what type of knowledge they retain, you do it in the first week. If you are doing it for review, I would wait, mid-semester you might want to review some topics. You might want to do it as a review at the end of the semester. I would not advise doing them every class or even half class. And in creating the game, what I suggest to do is actually create the game before the first day of class. This will give you, and the reason for this is you'll identify what things you really want your students to learn, right? And you work towards in class. This is the knowledge base I really want them to walk away from this class with. So it'll give you an opportunity to keep on track and say, these are the important things, and these are the things that I want to harp on. It's just so if you get it done before the class, this also works as a model for what you want to achieve. Now, I created these crazy games just out of the top of my head. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do with my pie art? But what I also did is I found this fantastic website, PowerPoint Game, and I got the link right here. And if you, what's the word? If you go to PowerPoint Game, they have Wheel of Fortune, and they have Jeopardy, and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and 20 questions, and guess the covered word. And I have no idea what guess the covered word is, but what I decided to do is I actually took one of these, and I like Jeopardy, so I created for your entertainment this evening, Callie Jeopardy. And I have 3 contestants today, and they are going to be engaged in a competition.
This is it.
From PowerPoint Game.
It has music.
All right, so welcome to Callie Jeopardy. The game consists of 3 players, player 1, player 2, and player 3. On their turn, players will have the option to choose from 25 questions. The questions are divided into 5 different topics. Each topic has 5 questions ranging in value. Starting with player 1, each player will choose a question to answer, identifying both the topic and the value of the question. All answers must be in the form of a question. As it is, they will be responding to the statements. After the initial player, the answerer answers the question that he or she chose. The next player, the examiner, will have the option to agree or disagree with the other player's answer. If the examiner disagrees with the other player's answer, he must provide a different answer. If player 1 is the answerer, player 2 will be the examiner. If player 2 is the answerer, player 3 will be the examiner. If player 3 is the answerer, player 1 will be the answerer. Points are awarded as follows. If answerer's answer is correct, the answer will be awarded the face value of the question. If the answer's answer is incorrect, the answerer will receive no points. If the examiner agrees with the answer and the answer is correct, the examiner will be awarded half value of the question. If the examiner agrees with the examiner's answer and the answer is incorrect, the examiner will receive no points. If the examiner disagrees with the answer's answer is correct, the examiner will receive no points. If the examiner disagrees with the answer's answer and provides the correct answer and the examiner's answer is correct, the examiner will be awarded twice the face value of the question. The player with the most points at the end wins. Okay, we have 3 contestants. We have Jenny from Florida. We have Jason from Tennessee, and we have Josh, also from Tennessee. Do you understand the rules of the game?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. I know. Well, here are our categories for the evening. We have the Supreme Court of the United States. We have Congress. We have agencies. We have court reports. And we have letters. So, Jenny, you are player 1. So you get to choose the question and provide an answer.
Professor Walker, I have a big question. Or I have the agencies for 100.
You take 8 agencies for 100. This independent agency of the United States government was established in 1914 by the Federal Trade Commission.
This is it. What is the Federal Trade Commission?
Player 2, do you agree?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay, so, and the answer is, what is the Federal Trade Commission? So, that was 100 points, and you agreed, so that's 50. All right, I'm going to go back to Alistair Beck and player 2.
Letters 500.
Letters 500.
Go big or go home.
The letters LLD stand for this Latin term.
What is retail store in Maine?
Player 3, do you agree?
I disagree.
What do you think is the correct answer?
Legis Baccalaureus?
And the answer is, what is Legum Baccalaureus? So, you receive what? Double the value.
Ooh, $1,000.
He said legends.
Oh, Legis.
Not legend. I'm sorry.
Judges?
Competitive aspect. Real Alex would not have it.
Okay. Judges?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna, so you received
Hang on to 500 then. We'll let you go home.
500, twice, so that's 1,000 points for Josh, who is in the lead. Now
All
we
right,
go.
Josh.
I gotta find the daily double. Like a blow
Now we go back to, well, we go to Josh to pick
I'll take
the
SCOTUS for 400.
SCOTUS for 400. The first session of the court convened on this date.
Just a year or?
On this date.
What is July 3rd, 1789?
Player 1, do you agree or disagree? July 3rd, 1970, 1789. What do you believe the correct answer to be?
She called a friend.
Well, if we were doing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, we could phone in. Well, you can call the audience, yeah. All right, so answer. Okay, I give up. Let's see if that is the correct answer. What is February 1st, 1790? No points will be awarded to anybody. Okay, player 1, back to you.
I will take Congress for 200.
Congress for 200. This is the name of the mahogany box in the House rostrum where members place bills they are introducing.
It's the hopper.
Okay,
I agree.
you agree. And the answer, the correct answer is, what is the hopper? So that was 200, that's 200, and then that's 200. Okay, player 2.
Because I have an inability to learn, we're going to do agencies for 500.
This former federal agency was implicated in a backdating scandal regarding the balance sheet of IndyMac, which ceased to exist on October 19, 2011.
What is, what is INX?
Player 3, do you agree with INX?
Disagree.
What do you believe the correct answer to be?
Federal Home Mortgage Insurance Corporation? What is the Federal Home Mortgage Insurance Corporation?
And the correct answer, what is the Office of Thrift Supervision? All right, player 3, you choose.
That has changed.
Let's say court reports for 400.
Okay, this reporter is the official reporter of decisions from the Tennessee Supreme Court.
What is the Southwestern Reporter?
Player 1.
I agree.
What is the Southwestern Reporter is the correct answer. Okay, well, we can continue playing.
Oh, let's not do the math. Some of us know where we
That was court reports for 400, that's 400, 400, and total points 600, 700, 250, and 1,400. And so, you win a car! So, in creating this actually took a lot of time. I had to go through the questions, figure out what were appropriate questions for my contestants. Being that we are not in a class, I went to just general trivia questions about the law. You can do a number, any different types of questions. You can even do fact pattern questions, probably, and figure out is there a correct answer. I think you take short exam questions and put them in this form. But that's Cali Jeopardy, and then there are a number of other games to play. Now, let's go with questions and answers.
Just as clarification, the one you just created was just for us. That was actually representative of the content of an actual class, right?
Well,
because then I would wonder, like, what the pedagogical value of knowing what date of the first Supreme Court.
This was entirely created for Cali. Some of the questions, though, I've actually used in class. Like, what is the official reporter of Tennessee Supreme Court? Anybody else?
So what do you hear about this in your teaching evaluations?
It hasn't come up. Because it hasn't come up. So, yes.
Is it possible to have
Penalty, like, because of
minus?
it's possible. I don't like doing that, no. I don't know. Now, Jason does that. He takes points away from people. And I don't necessarily know that you need to, this needs to be part of the grade too. I mean, I did it for my one class. The winner got to keep all points, but anything else? All right, well, thanks for playing. And have a good night.
Yes.
There was like 100 questions.
It took a little time to get an hour. Oh, does it? An hour.
You can also just take the subway or hour.
What age is going to give us a break?
I think we're close enough to stop.
Which one? That was a hard question. Well, sure would be better grading, because why would that be?
Yeah, that was, yeah, I'm glad I did wait for
Yes,
this.
the obvious
I thought
question
about
to answer no is,
yeah.
it's obvious because it's perfect.
Well, I got here at a little before noon. Yeah.
I can't believe I told you. I got that.
Still ended up being good.
LLB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the subway back.
I was on a with the stores. I was on that one last night.
There was always, probably stay tuned for us,
Like the middle class.
2 days before, or 1 day before the 4th of July, so I knew it couldn't be that. I think it was State Street.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
exactly the same as your laptop, but I'm telling you.
Yeah.
You will not let go of your hair. Yeah. It's long and skinny. It's like a U shape, because it's so long, it's almost like a V.
So I knew it had to be after too.
We'll see you guys.
And I was pretty sure it was actually in 1790.
I was guessing,
No.
but yeah, it probably needed to be after 1789.
Yeah, they went to the peak guy, the quarter point is.
I don't know, my flight is at like 1 something.
Well, we actually
When I was in that,
I might
worked
consider
on doing that, but we'll go from
Right out all the questions and answers first, and then go through the what I did is I
Still want to go Purdy's?
Yes,
the question.
So we can go there and then maybe
No, I figure out what's the more difficult one.
Oh, it is? Okay.
They also have.
That's the public one. Yeah.
You need to switch the display to the laptop.
I did.
Well,
This. Oh. You've used mine before.
all right. I think it's, in this particular case, I'm only doing, we're doing Cali Different, I just picked it free. If I were gonna do this and try to engage the whole class, I might do them in groups, right, and then go one through. I wanna keep everybody involved. I don't wanna have to take a test or anything like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then set it off.
47 people sleeping.
And instead of on everything, the purpose of, for this, that I just can't go with that, but, we could have done, like, could have put groups together, but,
I know, it would have got cumbersome for demonstration.
I mean, the rules themselves are cumbersome, so, I mean,
So we're trying to teach our students to deal with cumbersome sets of rules, so, thanks very much.
Good session. I enjoyed it. Put up a few tweets about it.
yeah.
Good tweets, nothing bad.
Yeah, I should have what she said.
You can verify.
I don't tweet.
That's okay. Twitter is free for all. You can go read. You don't have to tweet. You don't have to be signed up. But I just wanted to, since it's good to see you, because you're trying to be here tomorrow. Here you go. I'm sorry, you have something? Or like seal. I'm not sure. I'm naming all of them.
I've never been.
So I hope to see you next year though,
Oh.
at one of the conferences.
Well, are you gonna see it?
I don't know yet.
You're gonna see it.
Well, if I go to Seal, I can't come to Cal, because I might not have enough money. So, not for all three. So,
You got an extra room, don't you?
We got all kinds of extra rooms now.
so, we'll see. But I hear,
Yeah, it's coming on, so.
The triathlon, it was 10 hours.
I hear that, Cali's gonna be a hub next year.
What is it?
Yeah,
Back to Boston?
That's what Elmer let slip last night.
Well, I agree with Boston.
Close enough.
Boston, San Antonio, I actually think Boston sounds more appealing.
Boston, San Antonio.
Cali, or maybe all sort of Austin.
No,
Is there,
no, it's
It's supposed to be a,
It's San Antonio.
I don't know where it is. That's the problem. What are we looking for?
The thing that goes in the end? I don't know, somebody walked up there with their laptop.
No, I think it's probably stuck on the podium PC, wherever that's at.
But anyways,
that could be.
I gotta run.
Hey, I'm walking back.
Here, maybe?
Huh?
Catch up online. Don't forget your hat.
Oh, my hat. I was wearing a hat. I didn't get a hat. Here. Well,
I have not used Prezi. Does Prezi work with one of these?
Should.
Get your access.
Drawer mark. No, you need that. Interesting. Well, I'm thinking that it's probably in the back. This computer here.
So, anyway, so I'm gonna have to figure out if I can actually walk around. Hit a couple bit, but it's funny. I just want to see what it looks like on the screen. It's a very bizarre room. Hit again, yeah. Okay. See, can't get it in the right place. That's fine on everything else, okay? I have to move that one down. Terrific. So it works, it presents. Back again. Back. Got the area, we have to cover off now. Right?
Oh, where's that?
Yeah.
You walk,
Yeah.
I gotta carry it.
It's bothering me right now, but, so, well. No, I think you can. I don't like paying for taxis. Especially if you go like 10 blocks.
My problem is I can't carry it from my shoulder. How are you doing? We're gonna have a, this is like, oh yeah, I want to.
We want to keep that thing fixed. You have your keys on.
Yeah. I did, I don't know.
You have a carabiner,
What?
a clip keychain, like a big,
No.
like a hiking clip. That's what I would use to put this together if I had. See if I can get this through and pull through the knot so that it holds up. Can't really strap on my bag. So that it can't be removed.
I'll just,
If you had a
Sure, what?
what?
Did you know?
No.
You had a carabiner clip, you could, actually, here.
So I'm at 210, right?
That's the thing.
Sure. Can you tell me I'm not gonna like 210?
Want to come down and look at 210?
Yeah. Well, I want to see if there's actually,
No, it's the same on my head.